Why can't a man fly? All right, so I was looking at The Expanse again. I think it was season 2 when they go through, the ring, and the Martians fire on Holden, and it causes everything to stop, all the ships to stop or move at a slower speed. It would actually take them 7 months to get out of the ring. So, inertia is what they called it, but is basically the bubble that's within the ring is stop. It's only allowing people to move so fast. If they break the speed limit, they're held there forever. And I thought about this. I'm like, that's not too unlike what we have today. If we go too fast, we go through what? The sound barrier, right? You got the sound barrier, and then you got, of course, other barriers that are out there, and we cannot travel the speed of light. So, the Earth is 70% water, and then in the way it was made according to the Bible. I'm just gonna say, according to the Bible, not scientists. According to the Bible, the way the Earth was made is that there was just a huge ocean, and then God put the Earth. Okay, there was a huge ocean, and then God put an expanse over the planet, and he separated the waters from below from the water from above. This is according to what the Bible says. And then he had land, and then it was night, and then he made day. So according to the Bible, it was just a huge ocean, and it was called the deep. And then God put the planet inside of an ocean. So according to the Bible, we are inside of an ocean. This is just what the Bible says. I ain't making it up. We are inside of an ocean. Okay, so with that being said, we got 77% water, right? And then the rest is land. You got 30, whatever percent of land, or 33% of land. Our body is made up of 70% water. And there is constant fluids running through our body. And I made a comparison of our body and the planet before. We are in close proximity as far as the way we're built with fluid and water. We're mostly water. And when I start looking at the Bible again, and I look in Ezekiel, and Ezekiel, the prophet, looked up and he said that he saw there were four. He said he saw a metal object, and it was a wheel within a wheel, meaning it was spinning. And the metal object had eyes of fire all around it, which were lights. And he said there were four beings on the outside of it. And he said everywhere the wheel went, the beings went with it. And he said they had four faces, and each of them, he said they had four faces, and they had wings, and he said they had human form. Now, I've spoken about this before. So whatever these creatures were, they looked like us. No, this is not a dream. This is all in the Bible. Good morning. Seems you haven't been getting some of the notices. I haven't got this one. The you haven't been getting. I haven't been getting the notices. No, this is not a dream. This is all in the scriptures. And I did have some weird dreams last night. I've been having weird dreams, but anyways, I can talk about one of my weird dreams last night. It was really, really, really strange. If you guys want to hear it, but nonetheless, so when I started thinking about that, I was just like, well, there are limits. All in the way the Earth is made, and the way scientists say the Earth is made. Oh, you haven't been getting it. Oh, okay. I don't know why. Get the whole bell notice, huh? I don't know why. Uh, I always, put them in the same The same way, no, it's not for kids. This way, you guys can talk to me and get the notices. So I'm not sure what's going on, but so yeah, the way the planet is made is not according to what the scientists are telling us. So, anyways, what I was thinking is we've been doing this all wrong, and I've talked about spaceships before. The Earth is flat. The Earth is. I personally don't believe the Earth is flat. I believe the Earth is curved. I believe the Earth is curved. I believe it has a curve to it. Some kind. I believe it has some type of curve to it. Because if you were in two different parts of the planet, let's say you were 200 miles away and the sun was setting, you would see two different lengths and shadows from an object. Yeah, you would see two different lengths and shadows from the same towering object. So if you had something that was, I don't know, 200 feet tall, uh, and you had another pole that was 200 feet tall that was away, they would both cast two different shadows in length, which means that there is a curvature somewhere. Um, but I don't believe that the earth is round, and I definitely don't believe that the earth is moving. And with that being said, all that we have been taught, other than what we see, I don't believe. Now, when I was given the example of Ezekiel and what Ezekiel saw in the spaceship he saw, there was another spaceship just spotted recently too, I think yesterday. And what Ezekiel saw, I said, why would they be on the outside of the spaceship? It just made me curious. See, we think the spaceship needs to be shot into space at 1100 miles an hour in order to break the plane of existence, the stratosphere, atmosphere, whatever fear is up there. I'm not a scientist. And then go into space. And we think that when we come back uh, into the atmosphere, that the vehicle has to be moving at a certain speed in order to break into the vehicle. And then once it gets in, it can pretty much, snake its way down and try to get rid of some of that speed. And I say that we're wrong. Now, once again, I'm not a scientist, so some scientists can come on here and laugh at me, and I would not care because I don't have my heart into this. This is just me trying to think outside the box. But when I look at things, I go, something's definitely wrong. I don't think that we were supposed to travel back and forth. Look, I don't think there's a big old wide space and all these planets out there, like they're saying it is. I just don't. I think that we're interplanetarian. I think if there are planets, excuse me, I think there are planets out there, but I don't think it's sitting in a big old vast space. I think they're all just like we are in an ocean. But I think they're that you can get to them, but you have to be interstellar. You can't be. I mean, you can't jump from one place to the other by traveling through this water. I think it's impossible. Well, not impossible. I just don't think we're doing it. I think if we build submarines, we'd have a better chance. That's what I'm saying. Let me read some of your comments. Okay, hold on a second. I've been getting some of those notices. Okay, it's YouTube. The earth is flat, I believe. The Bible implies it slightly is true. My thing is, how can a rocket fly into space if there is no oxygen in space? Fire needs oxygen in order to. Okay, all right. So I don't know how a rocket is built, but I agree with you. Uh, to some point. Okay, in order to be in what they call space, a vacuum that has no air in it and If something is in space and you tap it, it will move forever. There is no drag in space. This is why the whole landing on the moon is a farce, because there's a flag that's waving back and forth. Well, there's no wind and there's no drag in space, so how can it be? And who's the one who filmed it landing? So it makes no sense whatsoever. But however, if the way I understand rocket and rocket fuel, with my limited understanding to a rocket engine, is fire needs oxygen in order to grow. If fire is produced in a cylinder, it can still it can still create fire as long as there's fuel for it. The fuel is the rocket fuel. So I can see a rocket going into space and still being able to move. Not to mention, when an object goes into space uh, at whatever speed that it's going, it does not need to, not unless it wants to change direction, it really doesn't need to any more forward thrust unless you want it to go faster or you want it to change direction. Now, we know that there are, of course, satellites up there somewhere, and those satellites are moving at a certain rate of speed. We also know that there's a lot of garbage up there, and we're calling them satellites. And every now and then, one of them will crash to the ground, size of a Volkswagen or something like that. So we know all of this is up there. So it is possible to move in space. We do know this. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, if you had a vacuum and you lit a match, it would not the match would be lit. But if you put a canister around it and you had something to feed that fire, that fire will continue uh, to uh, to burn, especially if you had something pushing it, and that's what's basically going on. So I can kind of understand rocket. Even as a kid, I never believed that man walked on the moon. Yeah, yeah, I was never with the whole man walking on the moon. But the way I see us as humans and metal, we have a a love of metal. We like to build everything out of metal, even though flesh and metal really is not a good mix. But we love to build things out of metal and get into them and move instead of us actually doing the moving. See, I believe we've been doing it wrong for the longest time. I think that's why three of our spaceships blew up. Because, for one, we don't need to move that fast to get into space. All that fuel and all that explosion, that's how the blew up in 86. We lost another one where they weren't even in the sky. They were just doing testing at the station and it caught on fire. But the third one we lost on entry. So when we lost that one on entry, the same problem happened. It was speed. It was we were moving too fast, and the heat got up under the heat shields and melted right through the bottom of the I don't know which one it was, and then it blew it up in a second because we were moving too fast. Same thing happened when that one took off. It was taking off a canister blew. They didn't stand a chance. But if they were moving slower and that canister blew, those people would probably have still been alive. Now I'm going, why do we keep doing the same thing? We know that we're doing this wrong. We know it. We know this is the wrong way to do things. And I think we're doing it wrong, for one, by habit. We don't want to break out of our own shell and say, what is a better way that we can do this? Another thing is, nobody, especially the people that, who are in charge, they don't want to let everybody know how powerful the human being is. They don't want to give you power because they want to stay in power. They don't want to tell you that you're actually an interplanetary being. You can actually move from planet to planet by your spirit moving from planet to planet. And in some cases, your body can move from planet to planet. They don't want to tell you this, but the book of Ezekiel makes it very clear that this is happening. Not only that, Christ actually showed that this is happening. And there are other examples in the Bible that show that not only is it happening, but it has happened and it's continuing to happen. This is a constant thing that humans are able to do, but for the masses of us who believe in NASA, and how they keep putting out, we found another planet, we this with another planet, we found a planet that life can be on, and keep you interested in what they're doing, even though they shut down the space program. You're just like, what if you take your eyes off of the sky for a minute and you stay grounded and you start looking at what the actual body can do and what the spirit can do and what it has done, and according to the word, and the prophets, and how the prophets were shown secrets and they could all do things that we couldn't do. There were prophets able to be in more than one place at one time. I mean, the Bible shows the extraordinary ability of human beings and their connection to God. Period. It just, listen. Even people who were trying to mimic what God was doing, they were doing some powerful things. And they were using magic, of course, but they were doing some pretty powerful things. And I often wonder, why can't a man fly? And I believe a man can fly, but we are using materials to encase us in an object and then trying to propel that object through the planet's atmosphere that does not allow for it, or it has resistance. I don't believe that resistance is an accident. The speed limit to, what is the speed limit? What is it? 500 miles an hour until you hit the speed of sound? I don't know what it is. But the speed of sound is not, okay, we call it the speed of sound because we know that sound travels that fast. And once you get through it, boom, you have a sonic boom, right? I don't believe that's natural. I don't believe that we should be traveling at the speed of sound. I don't. I believe that we should be able to skip from one place to another in an instant. Now, Hitler was working on something like this. He had a whole bunch of scientists. They were called the Bell scientists or something like that, and they were actually working on spaceships. And some of his scientists were actually able to teleport from one place to another. And there have been people who have accidentally, yeah, teleportation, exactly. And there have been people who have accidentally teleported from one country to the other. One guy was in Europe and teleported to China in an instant. It didn't happen in hours. He leaned on a rock and he didn't know that it was a doorway. And when he came out in China. How's that possible? See, I believe that's the way that we all should be traveling. I do. Now, of course, this is just me talking. I'm just some old man who has weird dreams and comes up with all these theories because I have all this time on my hands. But nonetheless, I think that more and more of us, of the regular people, of the common people, should be talking about it because I can still feel the technology we have today is still uh, underwhelming for us. Yes, yes, that's what I'm talking about. It's because we're going the wrong direction. And we're following. Okay, we like to say that somebody is smarter than us. The thing about us is our society is built up on leadership. We have a leadership in our community. We have a leadership in pretty much every bracket of society there is. There's a leadership in medicine, a leadership in science, a leadership. And we like to look at those leaderships and go, okay, this is the head of whoever, and this person knows more than everybody else. But I say that's not true. I say that's not true. I say a branch. Look, when you enter in a field of study and you start, let's just say you start studying rocks. When you start looking at all the different kind of rocks there are, you find out that all those rocks are broken down to about four different groups. And when you look at all the four different groups and then look at the variation of rocks, you're like, okay, this goes into this type of rock. This is this type of rock. This is this. And then you're like, okay, there's four different groups. No matter what anybody else says, these. there are just four different groups of rocks. And regardless of what anybody out there finds, it's going to fall up under those four different groups of rocks. Nobody can come in and tell you something different because you know that there are four different groups of rocks. So you, in your mind, are the resident expert of the rock of what you know. There are four different groups of rocks, and that's just it. Now, this may be some kind of weird looking rock, but nonetheless, it's still going to fall into those four different groups of rocks. You see what I mean? You know this. You have a sound understanding of this, and then you study the rocks within the groups and you find out what you can sometimes on your own. Sometimes you trip up on something and you're just like, oh, okay, boom, I found this out. Smartphone is like our best and advanced we have in years. And listen, I like the smartphone because the smartphone can answer questions just like that. Google can answer a bunch of questions, but you got to understand, you're still looking to something else to give you the answer. I tried to fly the other day. Yeah, PlayStation 5, very advanced. I tried to fly the other day. Doesn't that sound weird? But I kept having consecutive dreams about it. And in my dream, I was told that I could fly. So what did I do? I went outside and stood there and practiced flying. Now, I didn't run around like an idiot. I stood there because I'm thinking that there is something in the atmosphere that should be allowing my body to float. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to do it. But here's what I do know. There have been people who have figured it out. Just like the Stonehenge. How did all those Stonehenges, get created? There's actually one original, but there's a bunch more of them. How did they get created? In lucid dreaming, I'm not sure what lucid is, but yeah, I don't know what lucid means, but I've just been having a bunch of dreams about flying lately, like for the last couple of years, and I'm like, why do I keep thinking that I can fly, and then why am I flying in my dreams, and when I'm fully awake and I know I'm awake, I can't fly. And so I go back and then boom, I have another dream of me flying, except this time this is crazy. Except it's not just me doing it, it's somebody telling me how to do it. When you're in oh yes, yes, yes. I'm in control of them. Yeah, I'm in control of them. Definitely. So now I'm having dreams and I'm paying attention because when I wake up, I'm like, okay, this is on my mind. This is what I need to do. So there's someone in my dreams who's coaching me. It's there, but it's something with the shot that they give us in birth that stops us from reaching potential. I was told this in a dream class. And there are a lot of people who think the same way. See, this is why the conversation needs to be had between the common people because we're being held back. And I'm telling you, one of these days, some regular person is going to be like, I figured it out. And it's not going to be no TikTok garbage. And they're just going to be standing right in front of you. They're going to be like, do this. Boom. Next thing you know, you're either going to be super strong. You're going to be, you've seen boxers who are super quick, and you're just like, okay, they train for that. Not to mention, some of them just are super quick. You're just like, okay. Okay, let me give you an example. Here's an example. When I was in high school, I was in 11th grade, and there was this kid named James Law. James Law in the 10th grade, nobody heard of him. James Law in the 11th grade, he broke the record, and he broke the state record in three different events. He ran the 100, the 200, and the 400. And he did not know how he gained that speed because I talked to him. I actually raced him. He blew me away. And I talked to him. I was like, how did you do that? He said, man, I don't know. He said in the 10th grade, I could barely even, break into the 11th. The 11s and the 100. He said, but as soon as I got in the 11th grade, he's like, I just was able to run fast. And his speed was ridiculous. Now, his cousin Mondale went to my school. and I was racing Mondale, just me and him in practice, and we were doing 60s. And I beat him because I was like, Mondale's not faster than me. And then like the fourth time, Mondale just sped past me, and I was like, wait a minute, how did he do that? And then so the next one I ran my fastest, boom, and I never beat him again. And I stopped him. I said, "How did you just do that?" He said, "I don't know." Well, the same thing happened at the same period in their life. When they hit 16 years old, they were able, their muscles and something kicked in their DNA, and it accelerated them with no practice. These people were smoking, drinkers, and actually Mondale passed. He ended up being a drug dealer. These people were smoking, drinking. They didn't really care about practice. Boom! These two individuals with very little effort, their DNA kicked in, and they could accelerate at a mass rate, just with no practice, just boom. And neither one of them understood how. They were like, I don't, and I talked to both of them. They said, I have no idea. It's just that it just kicked in, and I watched it happen right in front of me. Like I knew I could beat this kid in a race, and then boom. From that day on, I never beat him again. That is an example, a latent stage of talent. Well, I think it's because they hit their puberty, but this is the thing. I think puberty is a like I don't think you have to hit a certain age for everything. For everything at 16. I think that you can be 70 and then something kicks in. I think it all depends on, well, pretty much nature, your surroundings. Uh, 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 okay, the way we live, we live in a house. We go to Kroger's, we go to wherever, we buy our food. We don't hunt for our food. We don't really struggle for our food. This is our food. This is something that uh, 300 years ago we didn't have this advantage. We had to actually get out there and track down our food, like and really, really track it down. You listen. I tried tracking down deer when I was a kid. It is not easy. You got to be smart, fast, cunning. They are no joke. You became the animal that you were hunting. So imagine if we all went back to that. I mean, imagine that. If you just was like, you know what, I'm hunting my food from now on, your body would change in an instant. There's a woman I know. She was talking about how why she divorced her husband after he did a tour in Afghanistan. She said when he came back, he was something else. She said she said his ears was so keen that he can hear the dog, the little bell on the dog from like a long distance away. She said it scared her. And of course, he wasn't as chatty as he was. He turned into something else. And I said, "You divorced him?" She was like, "Yeah, I was scared." And I said, "Well, just imagine this: your husband went into a situation that changed him. He had to be able to hear that good at night. He had to be able to understand if the enemy was coming from a distance. Just imagine him stand in a life and death situation every day. All of his senses are going to be keen. Here's the thing: if he was still in that situation, what would he become? She's like, I never even thought about it like that. I was like, yeah. I was like, his molecules, his atoms, his animal instinct started to come out. There's no more sitting in suburbia not worried about anything. I'm going to read some of your comments. Your potential is destroyed by K-12 education system. Some of it is. Sugar Ray Leonard was a freak genetically, yeah, and he still is. Interesting. Yeah, it is interesting because these dreams telling me that I could fly. And now, whoever is telling me this, they're instructing me on I can fly. I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to get it. It's not necessarily me that I can fly. It's it's my surrounding. It's whoever one of you are. me sharing this information and you guys starting to think, well, can I fly? One of you are going to be able to fly. It doesn't necessarily need to be me, but it needs to be a conversation. It needs to be an out of the box conversation. You got to understand, there needs to be free thinking on the terms of, why can't I do this? Why can't I run at 40, 50 miles an hour? But scientists are saying that man should be able to run at 40 miles an hour. 40 miles an hour is the speed of a grizzly bear at top speed. A horse at not at top speed, but a horse can pretty much glide at 40 miles an hour. I mean, just think about that. You're talking about a white-tailed deer can run at 40 miles an hour through the woods. Through This is not a track with rubber and cleats. This is through the woods. A white-tailed deer can run, and this is a female. 40 miles an hour and take off. So just think about that. All these things you can do, but you're not doing it. And if you could do these things, what would you do with it? What, join track? No, no. What you would do is you would probably hunt your food. You would appreciate God a lot more. You would be closer to God because you know your ability came from Him. You wouldn't be so everyday humdrum. The job that you probably do would probably change. You Dream and Fly reminds me of those lyrics from Nina Simone song. I wish I knew how I feel to be free. Right. She sang, I wish I could be like a bird in the sky, how sweet it would be. Yeah, Nina Simone had went through some things too because she wanted to be free. Her music is what freed her. But if she had the conversation that we're having, and I'm not saying she didn't, if there were other people who were surrounding her, just five, six people, just taking the time out to say, why can't why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? We should see, we should be able to do this. And once you unlock those inhibitors in your mind, you don't run around with a damn cape, but you just start thinking. You start hearing and you start searching and you find out that there were actually people able to do this. How did they do that? How did that man move all of those objects? And the guy wasn't even 5'5". He moved a bunch of objects by himself and they were all stone. He built a whole castle for his woman. And this was 1930, 40. The guy did it. I don't think you can fly, bro. That's a bit of a reach. But but here's the thing. Here's the thing. People have already flown. So when you say it's a bit of a reach, go ahead and research it. There was a nun. When she would talk to her parishioners, she was floating while she was talking to them. And none of them were afraid. There have been several people recorded who could levitate, like stand in front of you and they're 3, 4 feet in the air. So saying it's a stretch is because you never heard of anybody doing it. But I've been asking this question since I was a teenager. Levitation, yes. So levitation isn't a stretch, but flying is. I don't believe that. I don't believe that whatsoever. I believe that they're synonymous. I believe that they both can be done. And some people are saying, okay, because of the education system, we're not able to do it. Or some people are saying, because of what we eat, we're not able to do it. So you know what that's telling me? So now we're being lab rats. So now we're the lab rats. So now some of you are going to change what you eat. So now some of you are going to throw away some of the stuff that you learned. And you know what you're going to try to do? You're going to try to fly. You're not going to go jump off a tall building or something like that. You're going to stand there and you're going to think, what did I eat today? What did I learn today? And you might take an hour out of your time, just standing there somewhere and thinking about it. And if it doesn't work, so what? You didn't lose anything. Who cares? Who cares? But one day, one of you might figure it out. No harm, no foul. Flying is more unbelievable. Flying takes more energy than levitating, I would imagine. Okay, I'll give you that. Okay, so whoever it was in my dream telling me how to do this, because I keep going, yo, you keep telling me I can do something, but you're not showing me how. So I had a dream where they were telling me how to do this, and they were telling me it was all coming from the inside. And I was like, oh, from the inside? Like, it's not a controlled atmosphere from the outside. See, the outside has limits. And every time that I've flown, I've only flown at a certain height or speed. And when I wanted to fly faster, I couldn't. So that was telling me that yes, you can, but there is a limit on it. So, like I said, I don't. I am not the person who needs to do this, but I want to share this information because I think somebody is either doing it or going to do it, and they're going to share that information on how they did it. And when they do, this is going to release a whole uh, 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 energy wave for anybody who's seen it and talked with these people, and they're going to start doing extraordinary things. And I think it's going to happen now because, okay, nature will always find a way. If there were nothing but women on the planet, they would start having babies. How? I don't know. But if there were nothing but men on the planet, I don't think that would happen. Uh, but nature finds a way. So what are we dealing with now? We're now in it's just a very hard time for us with the coronavirus, with the police brutality, with people, and then people reacting to it and getting more violent themselves. Everybody's packing a gun. They're walking the streets with guns. You know, this is a very violent time for us. I don't think America has ever seen something like this. Yes, we've had race wars. Yes, we've had civil wars. But people knew who they were fighting. The blacks were fighting the whites. The whites were fighting the Indians. The whites were fighting against, the Hispanics down there in the Alamo or whatever they were fighting against. You knew who you were fighting against. Now you kind of don't know who you're fighting against. Anybody could be against anybody just because of their views, just because of their political views. You could be against somebody. There are people who are so much against Donald Trump, and there are and the people who are so much for Donald Trump are coming out of the woodworks, and they're coming in force. They're not trying to have a conversation anymore. They're conversating with guns in their hands, saying it's gonna get violent. Like, this is my president, and they're like, no, Joe Biden, that's gonna be my president, and they're holding their pistols like what's good. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what it's coming down to. And whenever you have that kind of pressure cooker, the human body adapts to it. Things start happening to at every age. Things start happening at every age where the human body starts to adapt to the situation that it's in. And I think because we're under this type of pressure cooker, you're going to see people come out with unbelievable abilities. Now, we've already seen people who are super strong, meaning they're so much stronger than the average human, it's almost unbelievable. But you don't have somebody tipping over school buses. You got people pulling them. You know what I'm saying? You don't have, you don't have some 17-year-old girl coming over and, tipping over a minivan like it's nothing. Well, I'm telling you that you're going to see some 17-year-old uh, suburbanite chick who doesn't look like much of anything come out and tip over a minivan. I think because of the pressure cooker that we're under, nature itself is going to demand some type of reaction to where you're going to start seeing extraordinary beings. It's going to be nothing to look up and see somebody floating. It's going to be nothing to see somebody, doing 60 on the highway, in a pair of sandals. It's just not, it's going to be nothing because the life that we're living, the constant pressure that we're under, it's going to create people who can just, it's going to cause ourselves to kick into high gear. And regardless of the food that we're eating and the nonsense that we grew up on and that we're listening to, all that's going to be pushed aside. You have one man in India who doesn't eat at all. He doesn't consume whatsoever. He says the atmosphere or something feeds him. He doesn't eat, barely uses the bathroom. You have a little girl, this little white girl. I don't know what country she's in, but she was speaking English. But she got dragged by a car for 3 miles. And when they finally realized there was a little girl up under the car, she got up like it was nothing. And she had no scars on her. The same little girl only eats once every 3 days. Same little kid, once every 3 days. And this was an 8-year-old dragged for 3 miles and got up like nothing and had not one scar on her. You got another little girl, she's like 5. She can set anything on fire just by thinking about it. She's from India. You got another woman who cries diamonds. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's a sign of things to come. It could mean you are about to prosper, or or it could mean I'm about to fly. Excuse me. Or somebody is. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be me. Somebody is about to do something, and I don't mean to sound like a preacher because some prosperity preacher. I don't believe in it. Prosperity preaching. I believe that's just the way of getting your money. I think that the more people who share the message that you are extraordinary and not for some money reasons. I don't ask you guys for money. I think the more people that say get out and try to get out the house and create another planet. Get out the house, stick your hands into the ground, and see if you can grow a plant. Just do it. Get out the house, listen to the animals that are around you. Just listen to them and see if you can understand them. Not in some corny Dr. Doolittle. It's not what I'm saying. Listen to the rhythm and the cadence in which they're speaking. Just listen to them and see if you can understand what the next cadence will be. Just do it. You'll be surprised. Because if you keep doing it, you're going to be like, one tweet, two tweet. There's going to be a third tweet in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom. There's going to be another one in 2, 3, boom. You're going to start being able to count them, which means you're going to start being able to understand them. And when you start being able to understand them, and you get more and more into that, for one, they know that you're listening to them. Birds are not stupid. Animals are not stupid. This one lady has a pet fox. She has a pet fox. We've seen people, there's a guy in Russia who has a pet bear, a grizzly. Matter of fact, I think it's a Kodiak. A big old Kodiak is a pet bear. We've seen people with, all these, pet animals and things like that. And they understand each other to a certain extent. I'm saying that one person could probably understand. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, what's going on? Thank you for the money, man. I never ask you guys for money, man. I just like talking to you guys. But I do appreciate it. Prosperity preachers. It's for money. Yeah, I don't do the whole money prosperity thing. People don't realize the animals really are on to things most humans uh, won't be able to comprehend. But, but, but I'm not telling you guys to do what most humans would do, and you're correct. I'm not telling you guys to do what most humans would do. I'm telling you to be extraordinary. I'm telling you that this earth is providing more opportunities for you than what we're being told. And listen, do you think Noah was on the ark and not understanding the animals? Every animal that was on the ark. You think Noah didn't understand them? There were dinosaurs on the ark. I mean, just drink that in. There were dinosaurs on the ark, 30 feet. And it's carnivorous. Just imagine that being on the ark. Just imagine a velociraptor. There were six different kinds, I believe. Velociraptor, who's actually more related to a bird than a lizard. Veloci meaning fast eater. That's what velociraptor means. But just imagine one of those being on your ship and you walking up to it like, "What up, dude?" You like, "What up, Noah, my dude?" I'm just saying, you think Noah didn't understand those animals? I bet he did. I bet he understood those animals. Listen, the lion was nowhere near interested in the rabbit. All of a sudden, none of them ate meat. I'm just saying that the things that we've read about in the Bible are still true for us today. We look at listen, the Bible is the most important book in the world and it's given away for free, but we act like it's nothing. We rather go buy a first edition of, some old gobbledygook that does nothing for us. Nothing happened. People really did this, and this was years ago. This wasn't 10 million years ago. This is 2,000 years ago. Noah was talking to dinosaurs. Noah was having a conversation with the dinosaurs. Do you think the dinosaurs, all the dinosaurs that were around, just looked at Noah's spot and was just like, you know what? I think I'm going in there. No. There was a conversation like, yo, my mans, you and your woman need to get on up in here. You know, let me get closer to my house. Lock myself in. But I'm telling you guys to be extraordinary. Think extraordinary. Think about things that you don't think is possible. My man said, "Yo, it's not possible to fly. Oh, it's harder to fly." That's the kind of thinking that you should be having. And then you should be thinking, why is it possible? Why is it impossible? Why is it so much harder? Who said that it was harder? Who said that it was so much harder? The flying man expert? What man or woman flew and said, you know what, flying is a lot harder to do than levitating? I want to talk to that person. And if you don't have that answer, then you can't say that. Now, he said he could imagine, which is, yeah, you can imagine that. But I'm just telling you, people, try it. I just stood right here. Stood right here and I tried it. Just one day I came outside and was thinking about the dream I had and was like, I didn't get in a crouching position. I didn't go, all that other stuff. I just stood here and I thought about me flying. And I looked up and I pondered, what if I could fly? Then what? You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying, dude. I used to try to run at the speed of sound. I could never run no more faster than, I don't know, 10, 12 mile an hour. Uh, what's good, man? Yeah, yeah. But we already knew that LeBron was going to be handed a title. That just, we already know that. We know the game. Keep you interested in nonsense while the world is falling apart. We know that. We know that's what they're doing. Try to hype up something that means absolutely nothing. It will do nothing for you. What's that going to do for you? LeBron wins the title, makes millions of dollars a year. What's that going to do for you? Really, what's it going to do? Zilch. Not one damn thing. He's not going to share it with you. They're not going to come to your house and have a party. They could care less. They care less. And that's why I don't care about it. But for you fans who do care about it, I talk to you about it because I care about you. That's keeping it 100. But yeah. So I'm telling you guys, be extraordinary. Think outside outside of the bubble. Yeah, it's a distraction. But it's needed because some people don't want to grasp reality. Some people need to live in someone else's, life. They need somebody they need a hero. Some people need and the thing about it is basketball, football, and all the other sports, they give you not only a hero, but they give you a look at the way I look at it, genetically, the way I look at it, how fast, okay, game is football tomorrow. The speed of football changes. The fastest guy in football is Hill, plays for KC, and he runs a 4.2. He runs a 4.2. Now, 10 years ago, the same thing. We had, Deion Sanders and, a couple other guys. They were running a 4.2, 4.1s. No doubt about it. But but to my understanding, every 10 years, the speed limit on humans changes, according to track and field. Every 10 years, it changes. So I'm thinking either next year or within the next 2 years, somebody is going to be running a 4.0 or 3.9. Now, Hussein Bolt doesn't run track anymore, but they wanted to know how fast he ran the 40. He did it without cleats. He ran a 4.2. And he did it just playing around as a demonstration. He didn't even have on his gear. So when you start drinking that in, like this guy just ran a 4.2 and he was joking. The speed limit on humans has changed. And he's illustrated that. If he wanted to, he could probably run 4.1, 4 flat. When he ran a 9.58, he had won the race at 40 yards. Before that, he wasn't running 9.58s. He was running 9.9, 9.8, 9.7, 9.6. And when he did that, he was catching people at the 60. When he ran a 9.58, he caught everyone and was ahead of them at 40 yards. 40 yards. When you start calibrating and thinking how fast that is, and here's the thing about it, he had a half a stride on everyone in the field. Just go back and look at the race. On everyone in the field, including the next contender, which was Tyson Gay. He had half a stride on Tyson Gay at 40 yards. This The speed limit on humans is changing. Remember when Ben Johnson did this? He ran a 9.9, I don't know what it was, and he won the Olympics. Carl Lewis was looking at him like, how's that possible? He's like, that's not possible. Then they went and said Ben Johnson used drugs, and then to come to find out that Linford Christie, who had actually uh, uh, won the Olympics himself, he was using drugs too. Tyson Gay was a two-time drug user. He got caught twice. And Justin Gatlin got caught twice using drugs. But Usain Bolt has never been caught using drugs. All of those people had won a title except Tyson Gay. Had won the Olympics. Except Tyson Gay. So when you start looking at it, you're just like, well, wait a minute. If all of those people, including Carl Lewis, was winning titles back 10, 15 years ago, and they were all on drugs, and then you have a man who ran faster than anyone else and didn't use drugs, has never been caught using drugs because he didn't. He was fast when he was 14. He was running a 220 point when he was 14. He's a junior Olympic champion when he was 14. So when you start thinking about that, you're just like, this is an example of how genetics kick in. And not only genetics, this is how the planet gives people abilities to reach their potential, except he used it in track, which is nothing wrong with that. But Usain Bolt is not a solitary case. He just used it for what he loved, which was track and field. There was a video of a guy, I think they were in Brazil. They went to rob, these two kids went to rob this guy, right? They rode up to him, jumped off the bike, boom. Went to rob him. Dude pulled out a gun and shot the one kid who jumped off the bike. The other one, when he saw the gun, took off. The kid that got shot fell to the ground, got back up, took 2 steps, and accelerated so fast that he actually caught the dude that was on the bike. He caught this guy. It was unreal speed. It was unreal. Nobody even talked about the fact that this kid got shot. They all talked about how fast this kid moved. And he was injured. He was injured when he did this. So I'm like, we're going to start seeing a burst of speed that people are going to think that person's on drugs. You're going to see people run into the 3.8s. You're going to see some average kid do it. It's not going to always be some Olympic champion. Those people just, when people find out what they can do, they want to make money off of them. But you're going to hear about people who are running a 40 and 3.8, 3.9, 3.7. And it's not going to be a big deal to them because they can just do it. But the thing about it is, it won't be an isolated case. You're going to see a few people in every country able to do this because of the upheaval that the world is in. Guys, hold on, my nose is... I'm going to read your comments here in a few minutes. Hold on a second, guys. That's Star Wars music. All right, let me read some comments. It's a good conversation. Sorry, guys. Let me get to some of your comments. All right. Should have grabbed my glasses while I was at it. You're going to have a few drinks and you know what? I'm going to grab my glasses. My screen to clean. It's either. I've been working, y'all. I've been doing stuff, y'all. I gotta go to work today. I gotta fix this lady's refrigerator. I want to be able to read the comments. They are important to me. I want one of you guys to fly. I want one of you guys to be powerful. I want one of you guys to do more than what I ever thought I could do. Do I have glasses in here? Bend off, you know, any, we talk about the Bible and how David wrestled a lion. We got this image in our head of this kid wrestling a lion, a full grown. We don't know if it's full grown. We don't know if it was a alley cat. But it says lion. So when you start thinking, how did this teenager wrestle a lion and then kill a giant? Because that's what Goliath was. He was a giant. And you're just like, well, the blessing of the Lord. Yes, but whenever the Lord gives you blessings, whenever the Lord gives you blessings like that, the blessings are understandable. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, I can see that. And sometimes they're not. You're like, oh, that's just crazy. That is definitely God right there. That's definitely God. He didn't only bless David once, he blessed him twice. And David also had a spear thrown at him by Saul. David actually had to run from King Saul. So David was a blessed man, but was he blessed with super strength? Was he super strong? Because I've seen 4 men try to pull a rope away from a lioness and they couldn't do it. And these are 4 built, strong dudes. They couldn't do it. So how did that kid do that? Did David have super strength? It's just something to think about. So let me read some of these comments. But I hear you though. It's all rigged. It's a distraction. Takes your mind away from all the wickedness that's happening in the world. Stay strong. Hey, shalom to you. Peace, Lady Jew, everyone in the chat. Yeah, the stress level, myocardio is what makes a person tired. Very much so. When you're doing well at something, you got more energy and you can do what you've learned over and over again from practice. It's all mental. Oh, okay. Star Wars, Barbet, right. I knew one of y'all was going to pick that up. Uh, did that punk get charged, Tone, for the dodgy fridge? Nah. But you know what? I figured these guys are out there ripping people off. They're gonna run into the wrong person, and it is what it is. You know, they're gonna run into the wrong person. Yeah. So anyway, so doing extraordinary things. I want you guys to be extraordinary. Now, with the whole police. Okay, so the whole police brutality thing, right? We got all this going on. Now it's not so much like police brutality is the caveat for some of the craziness going on, right? But now you got people just acting crazy. Like this guy in Atlanta just went into the projects, black projects. This white dude, black projects, and let off an AR-15 and shot up all the windows, and then came back a couple days later and did the same thing. Yes, bless you too, D Dubs. And came back and shot the same thing. Ecclesiastes 26:4. Whether a man be rich or poor, if he have a good heart toward the Lord, he shall at all times rejoice with a cheerful countenance. Well, amen. Amen to that. Amen to that. I believe that God was making people extraordinary, physically extraordinary. And he was doing it on purpose, and I think he's doing the same thing. There are some people who are just extraordinary, but you got a lot of people in the Bible who are extraordinary. You got one man who outran a chariot. These are two racehorses strapped to some type of vehicle that are very much heavily muscled and used. They're used to running at a high rate of speed, and there was a prophet that outran that chariot. These it's just not an like these things in the Bible with David being that strong and that wise, and Solomon being, one of the wisest people ever, Methuselah, and all those people living so long. And this is not like it wasn't just for that time. That's for all times. All those things can happen at any time to anyone. Like we need to quit believing, oh, that was 2,000 years ago. No, God is a God of time. Listen, to God, a day is 1,000 years. So to him, that's yesterday. I mean, just think, God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. I don't think he's just going to issue out that kind of speed. I mean, you outran a chariot. These are two horses getting it, and you just boom. He didn't say he outran a carriage. Here's the difference. He outran a chariot. This is a war vehicle. Horses who are meant to run fast. Okay, he put a specific emphasis on chariot. All right, Most High coming with the chariots. Revelations. You have David rebuilding the tabernacle, restoration of Zion, and desolation of Babylon. We're witnesses to it now. I just think that there's gonna be some. I don't think my dreams about flying are an accident. I don't think that I just don't believe that God would waste that kind of energy. I just don't believe it whatsoever. And I've been having them consecutively, and I know other people have been having them. And it's like, why fly? Not only am I flying in these dreams, like they're lucid dreams, like the person said. Yes, I'm controlling them because I'm just like, okay, I want to fly higher. Like in some of my dreams, I was only able to fly above the trees, and it was just right above the electrical wires and stuff. I was like able to fly above like city blocks. I wasn't able to go any higher. One dream I was able to fly as high as an airplane, 30,000 feet. But most of them I'm not able to fly that high. Jesse Owens outran a horse, but I believe it was more so the humiliate him because some of the whites refused to run against him. Yet Jesse Owens had great starter speed. Died a poor man too, as far as I know. There have been other people who have who have raced horses, and one person even raced an ostrich. An ostrich can run 45 miles an hour. A full-grown ostrich, male and female, can run at 45 mile an hour. Cheetahs usually have to track them down because they're so doggone fast and they can change direction like a doggone gazelle. You know, I think gazelles can do up to 50 or so miles an hour. 50, 60 miles an hour. They're ridiculous. Um, but I think a human can do the same thing. I just do. It's just I've read. Okay, so I don't know how many of you guys use chi. Some people believe chi is not a thing. I'm here to tell you that it is because I use it. I'll read this comment real quick. Uh, when the hopeful elected awarded the kingdom by the Most High, they'll have the ability to be higher than airplanes and faster than the speeding bullet. That's the power, and I believe all that. I love seeing a cheetah run. Yeah, but do you understand how a cheetah runs, Lady G? Because if you do, break it down to us. According to what I've seen and what scientists say, the cheetah's tail is actually a rudder. That's its tail is actually a rudder. And okay, so you got its tail for a rudder. You got, of course, its claws to help it stick to the ground, change direction, being a bipedal, and you have its. I think they were saying something like its spine separates or something when it runs at high speed. I was just like, wait, what? Like, the spine separating? Like, what? So when you start listening to why a cheetah is so fast, it's just something that's so extraordinary. But there's just no doubt in my mind that a man could actually do that same thing. Now, I was thinking about chi, and I was like, some people believe it is, some people believe it isn't. I believe it is because I use it for pain. It's a painkiller for me. So whenever anything hurts on me, I concentrate on chi, and then it eases the pain. Sometimes it takes it completely away. I have arthritis and spinal stenosis, so I live with pain every day. All right, so when I start thinking about people who are masters at chi and can use this invisible force, I'm thinking that, yeah, like I saw a guy start a fire. It's on YouTube. One guy started a fire. You had a white dude. He was sitting in with his legs crossed, and he had a candle in front of him, and the candle was probably 3 or 4 feet in front of him, and he would go his hand like this, and the candle flame would move. So he was using an outward force of chi. Uh, I know other people can hit you, with chi that they channel through the system, like Bruce Lee can on the one in punch. It wasn't all muscle; that he was using chi to do it. But at the end of the punch was an explosive power. Yeah, the cheetah's body is it is ridiculous. The sad thing about the cheetah is they always get their food stolen. Well, not always, but they get their food stolen from them by hyenas and lions. You don't hardly see cheetahs fighting with another animal, especially a hyena. The hyena is, hyena. Everybody thinks a hyena is a dog. It's a cat. And it has the strongest jaw bite and out of all of those animals. Just imagine that. That thing has the strongest jaw bite. It is no joke. Uh, so chi, chi is another force that people use, and I think that somebody who can use or who can channel an absorbent amount of it. And I think there's a way to do it because we were talking about what we eat and what we learn. I think that you can make okay. There are some people who are magnetized to an extent that is, if you put something on their chest, a metal object on their chest, it'll stick to them. I've seen two people like this. And one was a kid. He's like 14. If you put a pan on them, boom, the pan will stay there. You put a fork on them, same thing, magnetized. I believe that there are ways to accelerate the human's ability to conduct chi. If you can conduct, there's some people who can conduct electricity. They can actually send out a spark. They're not like powder or electrolysis or nothing like that, but they can walk and give you a good little nice little shock, and with very little effort, not the whole walking on a rug thing. They're just able to do it. Their body is putting out more BTUs than the average person. You have some people whose body runs into the hundreds and they're not sick. You're usually what, 96, 98. You have people who, their body's in the hundreds and you're just like, you're putting out a lot of heat. You running a fever? No, I feel fine. That's just the way they are. Uh, and you have people who actually can generate heat, you know, and it's extraordinary that they can actually do this. They can generate heat. You got other people who have okay. When I was running, I was doing a lot of running. I had a very very low heartbeat, very low, and it scared a nurse one time. She was like, your heart rate is so low that it's kind of scary. I was like, I run all the time. She's like, I know, but your heart rate is, might not. You might want to slow down with the running or something, because your heart rate is so low. But it was just natural for me to, I always wanted to run because I get runner's high, and that was just the result of it. I had a very low heart rate. So, you have some people who have an unordinarily low heart rate, but they're just fine. There's nothing wrong with them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, other people whose skin, like this one guy, he put his hand inside of a bear trap and let the bear trap snap, and it did nothing to him. It just, it didn't break any of his bones, and it didn't even break his skin. I know I can't do that. Because I would be all up in the hospital, a bear trap get me. But he did it. He showed it. He was just like, hey. He was like, no, there's another guy who put his hand in molten lava. He's so used to working around, steel and melting it down, and he would let the steel, not, it wasn't lava, excuse me. He would let the steel pour down, that he would take his hands and swipe it through like this, boom, through the steel. That was coming out. Now that would be a second, third degree for anybody, but his hands were so used to it that it didn't even burn him. I mean, so there are extraordinary people out there, but I think the level of extraordinary is about to become one, ubiquitous. I think it's not just going to be a one person who could light something on fire with a thought. I think it's going to be more. I think it's not going to be one person who can jog at 60 miles an hour. I think there's going to be a whole lane for people who are speedsters. Just like there's the bike lane, I think it's going to be a speedster lane. Oh, okay, we can't stop you guys from running on the highway, but not everybody can do what you do. So if you run in this lane, this is legal. If you run outside that lane, it's illegal. And it's going to be nothing to see some 13-year-old, chick going to soccer practice, backpack, ball, and all, and doing 65 on the highway. Nothing. Not exhausted whatsoever, having a good old time. And there's going to be a whole field of just fast people. It just, it. I think that's going to happen in our lifetime. I don't think it's going to be 20, 99. I think it's going to happen in a few years, according to what we're constantly seeing. Hussein Bolt runs at 28 miles an hour. You cannot run in some neighborhoods, like on the sidewalk. You can't ride a bike that fast. It's illegal to do it. Bike limit is only 15 miles an hour. The bike speed limit. There's people who've been got cited for it. You're riding your bike too fast on the sidewalk. Hussein Bolt would get a speeding ticket for running on the sidewalk. He get a speeding ticket. They would hand him, boom, you cannot run on the sidewalk this fast because there is a speed limit to the sidewalk. It's 15 miles an hour. He would get a speeding ticket. And the thing about it is, he would only be jogging. 15 miles an hour is not any energy to him. And we've seen him do that the last Olympics he ran, and he won the 200. He was just gliding. I mean, one guy said he's not supposed to do that. It's the Olympics. He's like, how is he just making? How's he doing this? So that kind of speed, that jump in speed. Okay, the fastest guy right now, I forgot what his name is. He actually ran with Usain Bolt in his last 100, and he beat him. He beat Usain Bolt. He came in second. It was Justin Gatlin, him, and then Usain Bolt came in third. That guy right now is running a 9.7 something. So he's not doing 9.5, but he might go into 9.6. The person who's even closer to Usain Bolt is Usain Bolt, 9.63. So 9.58, 9.63, 9.76, and somewhere around. I think no, yeah, 9.55. I think. No, no, he didn't run a 9.58. He ran a 9.58, 9.63. I think he ran a 9.71 in the 9.7s a bunch of times. So what I'm saying is, I think within the next 10 years, somebody is going to break that limit. I think nature is just going to have actually more than one person break that limit. It just, it's just no doubt about it. And it's just going to be some street cat. It's not going to be some high flying, Hussein Bolt, he made $21 million the last time he ran in that year just because he's such a good sportsman and everybody wanted to be a part of the Lightning Bolt, sponsorship. I mean, he did great for himself, very smart. Uh, but you're going to see some average kid come out and break that record wide open. It's just going to be amazing. Um, if you're looking at kids, you're looking at Brumel, who actually ran in the last Olympics. Um, Brumel is out of Florida. They always have fast kids in Florida. He was the fastest. So I think he still holds a record. I don't know if he still holds a record for the fastest high school kid. He ran a 999 or a 998 in high school. But then you had that white kid last year who came out and dusted everybody, and I think he's ran the fastest 400. So he runs the one, the two. I forgot what this kid's name is. He's ridiculously fast, white guy, and he just nobody can match him. They said no, he's not decelerating as fast as everyone else. So I start. When I was thinking about Chi, I was like, well, if we look at the gears in a transmission, when we run, we take short steps, then we take longer steps, longer steps, longer steps, then we get to our full stride, right? So we got like one, two, three, 4 gears. We hit our full stride. When we're at our full stride, we're actually taking less steps because we're trying to use more power. But if you look at when a wheel turns, the wheel keeps the same, it's the same distance from the top to the bottom to hit the road. It's the same distance. It never changes, but the wheel is spinning faster, right? The wheel is the wheel is okay, the wheel is putting out more power, but its cadence is still the same length. The stride never changes, but the power changes and the revolution changes. So when you look at the human body, our stride changes until we hit a full stride, and then some people overstride and lose power. That's where you decelerate. But Bolden is his name, not Otto Bolden, but Bolin is the white kid's name. What Bolin is doing is when he hits full stride, and then you hit full stride, you hit full stride, and your power distribution, your foot pounds that goes into the grounds that's propelling you is starting to lessen. little by little with each stride. It starts to lessen. With bowling, his foot pound lessens, but not as much. So he's not decelerating as fast as you are, so it looks like he's running faster. He's not. Everybody's falling back and he's going forward because his foot pound output is still more than yours. The reason why Hussein Bolt is so fast because his stride is so big, but his foot pounds usage and outage is more than Tyson Gaze and Justin Gatlin's. And this is how he was able to run a 9.58. So if your stride, if you're if you're running at full stride, not overstriding, if you're running at full stride and your cadence, okay, Michael Johnson was able to break records because he counted his steps around the track. He knew that it took so many steps for him to get to the 200 yards. So he calculated how much power that he could put out at a consistent rate in order to get him from one place to another with the maximum of amount of output, and without decelerating. So you notice Michael Johnson, he has that upright, when he runs, that upright. He doesn't rock very much. He's a very energy efficient runner. When he runs, he uses almost very, that's because he's counting his steps. When he uses his energy, he has he's able to calculate exactly how much energy. He was a scientist, able to calculate how much energy it takes to run from one area. That's not what Usain Bolt is doing. Usain Bolt is pure power. That's why he rocks back and forth when he runs. People think it's wrong, and I'm like, you don't understand. That's pure power. It's when you are in a brand new Dodge Hemi, Hellcat, and you punch it, that real wheel is going to have you spinning out. It's going to zzz and take off. This is what Usain Bolt is doing. He's using pure power when he comes out the gate. That's why he's rocking back and forth, because it's just pure thrust. His foot pounds is so heavy, it's just pure thrust. And people try to analyze and try to say he's wrong. I'm like, none of you have ever ran that fast. But there are more people who are going to be able to run that fast. If you match the foot pounds with the stride, you'll be able to do it. And it may seem hard, and of course, I'm too old to actually go out and do it. But for the people who can't do it naturally, you would be able to do it if you used another source of power. Okay, and I don't mean like drugs. People have used drugs, and look, and it helped them, you know. But of course, that's wrong, and it has a negative effect in the long run. In the short run, you're super fast. In the long run, it messes with your genitals, it messes with your, DNA and stuff like that. But it did work. So you're like, okay, this will make me faster. This will make me stronger. However, it's only for a short period of time. This is why most runners don't, they don't do that well after, so long. But Justin Gatlin, who ran until he was, in his high 30s. But if you use another source of power, meaning chi, you would, okay, so I use chi when I swim. I get in the pool and I'm tired and I'm trying to catch my breath after a few laps. And instead of going, I automatically start using my chi and it calms down my breathing instantly. I've made videos about it instantly. So I am a practitioner of chi, but I'm only doing it every now and then. If somebody practiced it all the time and applied it to speed and strength like that, it's just no doubt in my military mind that they could pick up the side of a van or something like that with ease. with ease. It wouldn't be this whole oh my god. It would be just boom, and it's over with. And I highly believe that's true. And I think that that can be incorporated into your DNA and passed on, to your children's children. And I've seen a video where there was an old man. This guy had to be in the 70s, but he was faster. He was so fast, and he was an Asian dude. He was a martial artist, and they were doing a demonstration on how fast this guy was. He threw a punch at the person, and they didn't even see it coming. And he was standing right here in front of them, and then he threw a kick, and he kicked right past their face and was standing in the same position in a split second. So all these things are highly possible, people. All of them. And you guys should figure out how to be more than what you are. Don't let people put limits on your mind. If you want to know how to do something, go out and try to do it. Be safe, be smart, do some studying. Go out and be extraordinary. Run fast, be strong, be smart, love God. Read the Bible, because it's all in there. The Bible keeps telling us that we are way more than get up, go to work, come home, watch basketball, and then go to bed. The Bible is not lying to us. Everybody else is. It's your boy Tone 202. Peace.